Oh. Yamadoda. Lifili lizwe madoda, lifili lizwe. Liyabhubha. Mayihlome ihlasele. Apparently these people in the background, Brother Makara, apparently these are the indigenous South Africans now. Apparently these people are the indigenous South Africans and we are all just invaders in their country. Apparently this is an indigenous South African. The Agbagbo people, which we can't pronounce, of course, we say Abambo, but they are originally Agbagbo. These are Aboriginal South Africans, together with these ones. This is an Aboriginal South African, according to them. And Rona, we are just Chinese descendants, apparently. This is new, it's a new wave in this history of revisionism, in this time of revising history. The new wave now is that this thing here, this is an Aboriginal South African together with these beasts. These beastly monstrosities, these grotesque monstrosities, together with are actually the indigenes of this country, and we are Asian children. Earlier today, I was invited by. I actually saw a notification that there's a live that's on, and then I went into the live. Imagine my shock when they were telling people that the actual Abambo are actually Igbo. The Igbo are the original Abambo, and the South African Abambo are actually invaders who stole the identity of the Igbo. So the Igbo are indigenous in South Africa. They are Aboriginal, not just indigenous, but Aboriginal. Do you know what it means to be Aboriginal? That title doesn't come just to anyone. Being Aboriginal is not just something you can claim, you know. I've seen a lot of people claiming nonsensical stuff. They don't even know what the word means. That means they are the autochthonous people in this country. They are the autochthonous people, the Igbo. They say Igbo is actually Abambo is Igbo. It comes from a word called Agbagbo, which means the hustlers, the hard workers. These grotesque monstrosities of creatures somehow think that they are the ones who are the original people of South Africa. And we just invaded their land. It would seem that their claim aligns with that of some Europeans who also say in recent times they are the Aboriginal people of Southern Africa. They say that South Africa belongs to the Igbos. On the other hand, it belongs to Europeans. And we are just invaders. That is the new story that I've heard now. There's dedicated platforms. There are platforms that are dedicated, international platforms that are dedicated to pushing this agenda that this thing is an Aboriginal South African together with this beastly looking creature. Apparently, these two groups are now indigenous to this land and we are all invaders. They say we look like this. Apparently, we look like this because we are invaders. We've got this look now. Our eyes are like this because we invaded this land. That's the story they are telling us. They say we look like this because we are Chinese. Apparently, we are Chinese. That's why we look like this. Yeah? That's why some of us look like this. That's how our grandmothers look like this. We were invaders here. How does it make sense, man? Huh? We are the invaders. Apparently, this man is an invader from Asia. This man is not indigenous to South Africa now, apparently to Southern Africa. He's an invader. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This is a proper South African phenotype. But apparently, we are all children of Europeans. All of us, Southern Africans. We are not from here, Runa. The actual people from here, which is why the Europeans came to save them. They were being wiped out by us, these ones. Look what the sun did to this one. Look what the sun did. The sun scorched the hell out of that bloody skin. This is not skin made for the sun. This is skin for the isthmus. This is skin for Norway. It's not skin for the Kalahari Desert, Baba. Look at what the sun, look at that damage. Look at that damage that the sun did. But apparently these are the first people of South Africa, together with their Igbo friends now, who are busy building a kingdom in Ghana. And yet Enugu state is falling apart. They are busy building kingdoms. Enugu state is falling apart. Busy eating egusi here, claiming things that are not theirs. Eating egusi and jollof. Bags of rice. We may be hungry, but we can manage our hunger. Yeah? It's war now. It's time for war. I joined that live of Mosiah. It's clear that these people are being funded somewhere to lie about us. It's a replacement thing. It did not work with King Pungane. It did not work with King Pungane when he was busy saying Amahlubi come from Congo. It did not work. I don't know what happened to King Pungane. He disappeared. Wanyibiliga uPungane. Yeah? Apparently now they also make pap in West Africa. They say they make pap. Those things of theirs that they mur, they pound it there. That thing that looks like banana, that they make, that oily looking substance. That oily looking substance, apparently it's pap now. They make pap. They were busy making pap. It's like they're making combo when they make pap. Hey, I was shocked. Hey, this is pap in West Africa. Let me play another song, my people. Just to uplift my spirit, before we get into it and actually talk about the people of South Africa, because I think it's important that the people of South Africa, I think it's important that we talk about the people of South Africa, because nowadays it's clear there's many of us who want to claim things that don't belong to us. Let's hear what Babu Tatu Kakeni has for us, together with the late queer gentleman, the late queer gentleman, Utatu Hoho. And then after this song, we'll get into these new theories that are being peddled and why they are doing it, because it's important to understand why they are doing this. Just give me a few minutes to play this and then we are in.
1800s. Uthi maXhosa ndina nendlebe sizele imiphula. angevakalelwa nilahla amasiko nezithethe zoyihlonje nidudla nophoyana nisezokhaleza umfazi ofeleyo nilahla imikhonto enayishiyelwa ngoyihlo khona ukuze kuphile umzuphela baseza kuyitholanyana banigwaze ngayo niquka nibuyelele emadlakeni nibulawa ngonyana benu wathakutho ufoka amakhanda athi kuba amadoda edinga into ayidingileyo athi ngunqelo phamba nayo kodwa ke kunjani namhlanje madoda wayibulele
Masambe mfana. Yeah. Ngeqhathelinye. Suka man. Waybulalina bisu, waybulalina bisu. Ay. See, Yakhalis gakhabe madoda. Yakhalis gakhabe. Waybulalina bisu ndakhathazeka. Waybulalina bisu. Waybulalina bisu ndakhathazeka. Waybulalina bisu bendingekho. Waybulalina bisu ndakhathazeka. Singa kanomagwayi wasembo. Hi. Thank you, my people. Hi, man. Yo, my people. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Sandile. Sandile waMadzikane. Greetings to everyone and thank you for the gifts, my people. My name is Sandile waMadzikane. Wasemamfeneni. WakwaHlathi, wakwaJambase, wakwaLisa, wakaCanzi, wakwaSanzanza, wakwaSandlalanqa, wakahamba ngezandla. Ndingwakwa ibeke lityeni ityiwe ezimbovane. Ndingwakwa phala kuhle ngoba le ndlela iyehlela. Ndingumfene zimabutho ahlukana xa kutshona ilanga. Ndinguhlatheli ngothiwa sele livuthe lothiwa zimfene kuba imfene zibaninilo. Ndinguhla ngomva eliweni. NdingumSuthu, ndinguLisa, ndinguSidunsa, ndingungube emhlophe. Ndingunhlaba mkhosi, ndingulunca umwandla umandi wafikela uhlangeni. Uzaba umfene mazabiwe zabelwe abafokazi. Ndithi ke namhlanje ndiphuma ngapha kwangqika uRharhabe kwaUtsolo bentonga. Nguntsinga kanomagwayi wasembo. Ngusibala mdaka. Ngusambatha zimfutshane kanti zomlingana kubezinde uthi zimfihla amadolo. Nguzamazama ilizwe lizamazame. Ngusingasiyaya mhla singayi singe asiyi mhla sisiya. My brothers and my sisters, in recent times, there has been a theme that has been directed towards the people of South Africa, both by our fellow countrymen and our fellow compatriots in the continent, but also at an international level. There has been a very concerted effort to replace the people of South Africa. I repeat, there has been a concerted effort to replace the people of South Africa. I do not understand where this comes from. But clearly, it is not done in good faith. It is a malicious project of propaganda. Firstly, Europeans claim about people are not from here. As if Europeans themselves are from. In fact, you know, the English are actually not from England. They are invaders in England. That place is not England. There were people before the English arrived. And before those people who arrived before the English, before those people arrived, the ones who were there even before the English, there were other people in England. I have a friend from the Eastern Cape. His last name is Roscrouge. He's a descendant of Celtic peoples who came here during colonization and were traders in the Eastern Cape. They are not English, but they're British in a sense. But they were there before the English, the Roscrouge people. They come from the Brittonic peoples, the Brittonic population. They come from the Brittonic population. So the English themselves are actually not from England. They invaded those lands. They are Germans. These are Germanics who go around invading lands together with the Dutch, and the other Germanics. And then they come here about to do the exact same thing they've been doing in other countries. They come here to cause havoc. These people, some of them are actually from Asia. Well, all of them. They're actually from Asia. There were dark-skinned people in Europe just 3,000 years ago. Just 3,000 years ago, there were dark-skinned people in Europe. The original Europeans, who themselves are a mutated version of indigenous Africans. Anyway, so they're used to claiming people's territories and branding them as if they are theirs. So when they come here and realize that, damn, these people are so pure, they're so in tune with nature and the environment, that doesn't sit well with them. It doesn't sit well with them. And so they create this narrative that the people of this land must have come from somewhere else. And it works because to this day, a lot of descendants of Europeans themselves and collaborators still buy into those narratives that there's the Africans inside of our country calling us the Africans, as if we don't have names of who we are. Anyway, so on top of this narrative that Europeans play, they created this terra nullius concept. Terra nullius means empty land. Terra is a land, most. That's why someone who doesn't come from the land, we say extraterrestrial. Terra is a land. Nullius comes from the word null, zero. So terra nullius is a propaganda upon which this whole Bantu migration nonsense is built. Terra nullius is the false myth that Europeans in South Africa peddle, that this country was empty when they arrived, when all their records show otherwise. Anyway, on top of terra nullius, they were able to get creative. Their first creativity they created was to come here and classify the people of this land. It was to come here and classify the people of this land. Not listening to anything the people of this land are saying about themselves, they classify us. They tell us who we are. Some people inherited that. We call them colors today. They inherited, because a lot of them collaborated. There are those who resisted, amazing. But those colored people who collaborated with Europeans inherited the intrinsic, innate divide and rule. True, people like Willem Heinrich Bleek, people like Malcolm Guthrie, people like Joseph Greenberg, people like John Benny, people like A.T. Bryant, people like John Campbell, people like Friedrich Ellenberger, people like Lucy Lloyd, the Lloyds and the Bleeks. They did so much damage because they took the position of a god in telling us who we are. How do you go to a land that you know nothing about, get into that land, tell the people of that land who they are? So there are those who inherited that intrinsic animosity and antagonism. They inherited it over the years. And use it to divide our people. That's one. Two, what they do now is that they've got infrastructure, digital infrastructure, physical media, when they used to write books that are full of lies. And to this day, people who read those books are always confused about who we are. This is how you get the likes of King Pungane, who will claim that Amahlubi come from somewhere else. It's people who read the books that were written by, but not for us, but about us, by the people who came to conquer. You come, you write books about us. You don't ask us when you write those books. You do not interview us when you write those books. But the books were not written for us. This is why it's confounding for me. This is why it's all right, brother Swadini. This is why it's confounding for me when our people base their knowledge on the books that are written by people who wrote for the scientific journals or the societies of Europe. These people did not even believe you were human to begin with. This is one of the reasons they say the land was empty, because you were here, but you were not human. You're an animal to them. Mary Barber, Thomas Boker, they say the indigenous people of South Africa are white. And then they say, us, we are actually not human. Maybe we are 3/4 human. So according to them, we are hominin. We are a hominin species. We are not actually humans. This is what confuses you guys when they say South Africa had no people when we arrived. They mean those things that were there were not humans. You and I. You were never considered a person. That's why to this day they dehumanize you. Even the word by which you refer to yourself, umuntu, they've cut it off, they erased it. They call you Bantu. Do you understand the dehumanization that needs to happen for them to be able to claim what is yours? So they dehumanize you and then place themselves first. So Mary Barber, Thomas Bowker, siblings, then claim that the indigenous South Africans are white. They claim it. I've seen people now in podcasts, these Tucker Carlson kind of podcasts, this Jordan Peterson kind of podcast. You know, these men who seem to think that they're these intelligent, well-spoken people, but are actually just pusillanimous little fragile boys who cannot take any opposition or differing opinions. So I've seen now Afrikaners going to these, or so-called Afrikaners, because they're not even Afrikaners, they're colored from Europe. I've seen a lot of them going to these platforms now. And then in these platforms, they actually lie and say they're the indigenous South Africans. TK, Budi, how do I subscribe? Hey, my people, I've got a couple of subscribers. Very thankful for you guys, subscribers. Before I continue, I want to say I'm changing my approach now, because I don't know how TikTok works with this subscription thing. I think it's a scam. I think they take the money for themselves. I see a lot of people are subscribed. I see the figures there, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't come to me. So what I've started doing now, because I launched Sandile University, I actually have classes now, weekly classes. I hold conferences. I've got about 3 people who are part of those classes now. The 4th one joined today. So basically, that's how you subscribe to me directly. Those who want to subscribe, you subscribe to me directly. You send me an inbox. I add you to my list. I invite you to the weekly meetings. We have weekly sessions on Teams. It's an interactive session. You can ask questions. I share my screen. You ask any questions. Then the meetings are 1 hour to 1 hour, 30 minutes every Wednesday. And then you are added to a group. I share audio files I'm not limited to only isiXhosa, isiZulu. I do every indigenous Southern African language. You see? So, yeah, that's what I do. So TK, just inbox me. I will see your message and then we'll talk on the side. Because with the subscription thing, I think there's a lot of scamming going around there. Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into it. And also, you can just go subscribe on YouTube. I'm there. Remember, guys, when you watch YouTube, you can always support by watching and yeah, watch and share with others. I am multilingual. Ndiyathetha futhi ndithetha isiXhosa esisulungekileyo. Thetha isiXhosa qho esakwaXhosa esaxa komXhosa, saxa komxhaka. Kodwa ke ngibuye ngikhulume isiphuthi. Ngoba ke mina ngidalwa yibo ebathu labantu sebakhuluma isiphuthi. Ngiyabuya ke ngisikhulume isiphuthi ilimi lekhethu. Ilimi lelimnazi, ilimi labonkulu, libonkekhe. Ilimi laboncece, libomkhulu labangidalako. Ngiyabua, ngiyakhuluma, like isiZulu and isiSwati are the easiest. But my knowledge is not just on speaking. It's not just on speaking, it's actually a bit more deeply on the academic side. You understand? So my approach of teaching language is showing common origin more than anything. So I will talk about the word ukugaba and the word uchaza because they mean the exact same thing, to cut here. And then I will also mention another version which is found in abantu basemandwandweni from back in the day, because baba yeyeza. So they didn't say uchaza, instead they said uchaya, which is to cut. And therefore uchaya at the same time, when we take it into Tsotsital, it means to finish. And then I'll also mention the word ukucima and ukucisha and ukucishiba, which means to unalive. So I work deeply on the advanced level of languages. So if you speak any indigenous South African language, it doesn't matter which one, I'm very comfortable with it. Very comfortable. Even isindrebele sumayela, isindrebele sakagegane, noba isindrebele sakamulendlane. I remember years ago, I was in a group where we only spoke Sindrebele Sumayela there. It's different from Isindebele Sakwanzunza. So, yeah. Anyway, just inbox me, TK, and anyone else who wants to join the sessions. There are interactive video sessions weekly. And remember, it's something you renew every month. But my program is a 6-month program. After 6 months, you have to be really good. Like, you have to be comfortable. That's how I work. After 6 months, you have to be comfortable with the languages. So I'll give you all the books you need. I've got hundreds of books. Oh my goodness. So it's about 250 to 350 to join. And yeah, if you want to give 350, you give 350. You want to give 250, you give 250. It's 250 minimum because the elite subscription package on TikTok is also close to that amount. And that was the requirement for people to join, to subscribe as elite subscribers. But the elite subscription is a scam because TikTok just housed the money. So minimum 250, you don't have to give more, you can give 250, and then we go monthly for 6 months. After 6 months, I'm releasing you with everything you need. You need to be comfortable to say, I know when I hear it. I understand how it links to isiZulu, isiXhosa, and Sotho. I know that in Sesotho, maqhubu are the waves. But I also know that in isiZulu, to wash your teeth with uquba. And I know that in isiXhosa, to swim, ukuquba. So qhubu, quba, and quba, what is the relation between these three words? That's the level of depth I get into. So yeah, please, if you want to join, inbox me. I will make sure after this live, I let you know what the process is. And people are already now starting to sign up. And yeah, when we are done, you guys are going to graduate. I'm going to give you guys a digital certificate, Sandile Tukan University. And if you want, you can also order your merch. But that's for you guys later on. Thank you. Back to what I was saying. So what happens is now, Abelungu in South Africa came with this agenda that we are not from here. But it's not based on our arrival. These things of arrival, it's new stuff, man. I've seen some piece of fabricated document that the Zulus arrived in 18 what. The Xhosas arrived. That nonsense is not true. They know we've been here since time. Since they ever came on in the 1400s. What they're really saying is that you guys are monkeys. Nizimfene Nizinkawu, you are Bobuchans, and you are not here because you're not human, and therefore the land is ours. If you look up the work of Mary Barber, I've been mentioning this woman because she's the one who informed a lot of this idea of replacement that these people are so obsessed with. Mary Barber, Thomas Bowker, those two, please read up on their work because they are the ones who had this unmitigated temerity to create these theories that they are the indigenous people. Those who inherited this innate antagonism towards the indigenes of this land still claim these claims to this day because they inherited it themselves. It is premised upon the highest level of racism. And those who inherited it to this day will come out and claim, you guys are not from here. You guys are not from here. Where are we from, Negro? Speak. So now, this has found its way into the international platform. Now, some West Africans, unfortunately, not all of them, obviously, it's a very tiny portion of West Africans. Now they're claiming that they're actually the indigenous South Africans. Igbo people have started to claim they're the indigenous South Africans. I know they are indigenous West Africans, and that's perfect. That's actually fine. It's a good thing that Igbo people are indigenous West Africans. They should actually be proud of it. They've got a long culture in West Africa. They've got a long culture. They've been smelting iron in that region since 2,000 years ago. No, since 4,000 years ago. There's evidence of iron smelting in West Africa going back to 2000 BC in some provinces of Nigeria and the rest of West Africa. But somehow that's not good enough for them. They have to take what belongs to other people. So now they've started peddling the lie that they're actually indigenous South Africans and we are actually Asians. I was part of a live today with Nigerians and some people in the diaspora. And these are the lies they're peddling now. Now they've moved on from Native Americans. They're being called pretendians. They've moved on from that now. And they're running away from Hebrew Israelite stuff because the Jews are chasing them there. Now they're coming for us now. They're saying they're native indigenous South Africans, and they're saying that the Zulus and the Xhosas invaded and took their lands. Apparently, we are children of Asians who came to invade. That's why we have kingdoms and kings. That's why we have cows. Apparently, cows now are an Asian thing. Apparently, cows are Asian. They are not African. Like, they are mixing a lot of unrelated things. One is saying, do you know maize came from the Portuguese? Ugh. Nigga, what does that have anything to do with us? Because maize is not even our indigenous food. We just adopted it like 400 years ago, 300 years ago. Maize is not our indigenous food. We eat millet. We eat sorghum. That's our food that we planted for a very long time. So why are you telling me that maize came with Portuguese? You think you're going to sound smart? It's public knowledge. It's on Google, nigga. You went to ChatGPT. ChatGPT told you this thing. You're not going to use that to argue with me. You went to Gemini. Gemini told you this thing. And they're coming and saying, go and ask. They're saying, go and ask AI. AI is going to tell you. AI is going to, I'm like, So I'm telling them that, no, man, South Africans are indigenous to South Africa and Southern Africa generally, right? They're saying apparently the Zulus and the Xhosas unalived the Abambo. They unalived the Abambo, and the Abambo are actually Igbo. That's what they're saying. Abambo are no longer the likes of Thabo Mbeki now and the likes of Zozibini Tunes. Abambo are actually Igbos now. They say it's Agbagbo. Agbagbo. So I'm like, guys, Abambo, the word Abambo literally means the people who dig for minerals. The people who do smelting of iron and gold. That's what Abambo is. We know them. They are people who used to work with minerals and metals and iron. They made spears and they were very good at making weapons. In fact, there in Lesotho, there was a king known as King Muros. He was one of the richest people in southern Lesotho in the time of Mushweshwe. And there were obviously two different kingdoms. There was not one kingdom there, two different kingdoms. Kenge got rich, not because he had many cows. He did not have cows. He used to sell like weapons. He used to sell weapons because he is part of the Abambo people. They are so good at working with iron. So he used to make weapons and sell them to other kings. And therefore they would give him cows. That's how he got the name Enge. The name Enge is Kwai Kwe. It means rich man and lord, high lord, you see. This is also why the people of Omajola, they are called Engeba. Engeba means good lord. This is also why the name for creator in some of the Kui dialects is Keng or Kang. So he was called Kenge because he was rich. He was a rich and powerful king. Observer, welcome, thank you. So I'm telling them that the name Abambo has to do with Ukumba or Ukomba, to dig. And therefore Izimbiwa, the mineral resources. Ukomba is to dig. It doesn't mean to dig for gold only. But in the sense of Abambo, it has to do with precious stones that are dug underground. In fact, we have a saying, Uguti, Imbo, ulahla imbo, gopoyana. You're throwing away your imbo because of upoyana. Upoyana is a valueless, temporary thing. It's like saying to your child, you are playing with your education because you're making money on forex for now. You're being scammed by forex traders. So an elder can say, ulahla imbo ngopoyana. You see, ulahla imbo ngopoyana. Now here's the thing: imbo has to do with gold and other mineral resources. That's it. I don't care who says what, because this is my language. You cannot tell me that no, Igbo has nothing to do with Imbo. Imbo is a thing. The word Igbo, Ndi Igbo, that's what it is in their language. Ndi Igbo, literally. It means people of Igbo. Igbo itself means a forest. It's forest dwellers. Or people of old, the old people. There in Nigeria, not here. Do you understand how many thousands of kilometers it is to move from there to come here? Do you understand how far away Nigeria is from here? So Imbo is a precious stone, literally gold, but also other stones as well, which is a central part of our culture. Mining is a central part of our culture. We have names for ore. We have names for ore. We have an indigenous name for ore. We have an indigenous name for the fire hearth where we smelt the ore and purify the metal. We have an indigenous name for the wind thing that we use. We have an indigenous name for the final product, the different metals for the final product. And we have indigenous names for the articles we make with those products. You don't get to that by stealing a culture. You don't get to have that level of complexity by stealing someone else's culture. You don't do that. I have not even gone to the genetics. I told them in that live that West Africans have non-human DNA. Some of them even have Homo neanderthalensis DNA. They are Neanderthals, some of them. Some of them are not purely Homo sapiens, basically. And I know, as I said, it's only a very tiny portion of people who are talking about this, not everyone. So when I'm talking, I'm referring to that group as well. I'm not saying every individual community in West Africa. There are many communities there that are just minding their business. The Edo people, the Benin people, they're minding their business, being pleasant in their own countries. But then there are these ones now who can't seem to stay in their own country, who can't seem to accept that they are where they are and they need to work their way out without trying to claim other people's things. If they had a way, they were going to say they are Swedish. You can ask, I will answer. If these people had a way, they would say they are Nordic. They would say they were the Vikings, actually. That's what they would say. At this point, they are just confused. How can we say we are Vikings when we look like this? They are confused. How can we say we are Vikings when we look like this? If they had a way. So apparently this is what an indigenous South African is now. Osebeko izinja zabakhwetha nqa. Sebekho inja yomkhwetha madoda. So these apparently are indigenous South Africans now. These are the people that apparently we wiped out when we entered this land. And then I'm telling them, no, man, Amambo means the goldsmiths, the blacksmiths, together with the word Amalala. It means the exact same thing. They were so confused. They don't know what to say. Someone is lying there. Shut up! You don't know nothing. You don't know nothing. Hey, Agbagbo. It means the hustlers. No, you can hustle by selling your cocaine. There's nothing to do with us. But here in South Africa, we don't have such nonsense. No, it's not Abambo. It's Agbagbo. They don't even know what Embo people is. There's no Embo. They don't know what Embo is. Now, I got your question about Nguni. I will explain it. Don't worry. I need to address this nonsense. This is the exact same thing that these ones are saying. These ones are saying they are indigenous here. They are saying Uri, they are indigenous, these ones. Look at what the arm is doing to them, the sun. It's mooring. The sun is cooperating at all angles, but it's frying them alive. See? You come against nature, nature deals with you. Nature deals with you. Look at this. Huh? Who's your papa now? Who's your papa now? Oh, shut up. You don't know nothing. Oh my goodness. So anyway, just to before I allow other guys to speak, we are faced with this problem here now of people claiming things that are far from them. But this is dangerous because it can become something big. That's why we must analyze it as it starts. So that Ada Obiekwe doesn't come and claim things here. Adeke Adebajo must know this is not a Nugu state. This is not a Nugu state. This is Mzansi Baba. This is Aremab. This is not even Azania for that matter. We already dealt with that nonsensical name. And I know people like that song. Azania Israel. It's a nice song. I love it as well. I used to sing it when I was at university in the EFF student command. I was singing that song. But, well, it has nothing to do with us either. This is not Azania. This is not Enugu. And it's definitely not South Africa. Anyway, because that's a British creation together with the Boer. So, my people, we cannot, you see this nonsense? This is not Biafra, Baba. This is the land of our forefathers. Aremab, Engleni. This is not Biafra. This is Aremab, Engleni. Even that bloody name, Africa, has nothing to do with us. Observer. Siyacamakusha sithi makube xosi kube hele observer. Siyacamakusha sithi makube camaku. Kudede bomnyama kukhanya on your way. You see, that's how you do it. Do it like observer, man. Look at observer. You see, now I'm gonna go even deeper. Go deeper, papa. Hey, our fellow Africans are crazy, man. So you have people like this now on the screen also claiming that they are the indigenous people of this land, when the land is literally denying them. Look, I do understand, man. I do understand when people have issues with each other. I get it when people have issues with each other. Yabon, like, let's say you don't like Amazulu, which came out very clearly in that live, or you don't like Amaxhosa. I get it, but you can't just lie about people's heritage. It's the same thing I was saying in that other live, that you may not like the Shona people if you are in the bell, but you can't lie now about them. If you don't like them, it's fine. That's yours. That's your baby to carry. So Igbos have nothing to do with South Africa. Igbos have their own history. They've got a long history. They come from the Nri people. You understand? They've got a very long history, those people. Going to the 1000 BCs, by the way. Just a few years ago, I remember very well, the same Igbos were saying they are Hebrew Israelites. In fact, they even have synagogues. They have synagogues. They say they are the tribe of Ephraim. They say that the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Gad. I don't know what happened now. All of a sudden, they are native South Africans. All of a sudden, now they are native South Africans. What happened to being an Israelite, Baba? Here they are, with jaws like they're chewing gum. This is what we are faced with right now. We don't know nothing about no Igbo. Igbo people are not related to Abambo. Abambo are related to other South African groups. Abambo, Amalala, Abenguni, Abatwa, it's the same thing, man. These are polities. Do you understand what a polity is? Do you understand what a polity is? It's a political structure. They even say that Umkondo, the spear, came with Asians. I'm like, Hibanna. Do they even understand what a spear is? And the shield came with Asians. Do they know what a shield is? These people just speak, they don't even understand. Next thing they're gonna say books came with Asians as well. But you know, we know what a book is. A book is a stone that you dig into. We have indigenous names. That's a book. And iqholo is the thing you use to dig into the stone to inscribe something. Or ukhola. Because khola means to scratch. You scratch it. Umkhondo, we've got different names. You have Itlwa, which comes from the word Twa, which means to fight with. We have Umkhondo. There's many different names for Imikondo. Back in the day, in ancient times, they were wooden Imikondo, by the way. Umkhondo, the spear doesn't need to have iron or metal. They can be wooden spears. They can be spears with stones there in front, flint stones, which were used heavily 15,000 years ago in the Ice Age. We were using those things. You can go and dig up in Hermanas. You can go dig up in Mossel Bay. You can go to, you see stuff going back 15,000 years ago. So you can't use history that does not exist to fight a battle that does not exist. What they're doing is to just cause chaos and division. But what I want to say now to the people of Southern Africa, you stick to reality. You stick to reality. People whose identities were stripped away by Islam, by Christianity, they think their clan names are demonic. When you say your clan name, try the name. They think their clan names are demonic. Don't allow them. We know who we are, my people. The people of South Africa, we know them very well. And it's not these four. They've got their own people, their own history, a long, long history. They should be proud of it. But also, you cannot take modern issues, like, let's say, poverty. You cannot take those issues and they don't negate your history. The modern issues like poverty, because I know there's a lot of poverty in the Igbo areas, Enugu State and stuff, which is what led, this is what led President Tinubu, President Tinubu to say, we may be hungry, but we can manage our hunger. I understand what led him to say that. There's a lot of poverty in Nigeria. I get it. We may be hungry, but we can manage our hunger. It's good. It's good. Tibunu. It's good. President Spoon. I understand, man. You know, you guys need to build what is yours, but don't take what belongs to other people. Don't take what belongs to other people, because when we fight back, it's not going to be cute. It's not going to be nice. Trust me. Observer. So, what I want to say now is, there are people of South Africa. South African people are not Asians. You see, if you look at my eyebrows, you'll see I have something called an epicanthic fold, which means this fold here covers whatever is underneath. It's called an epicanthic fold, this thing. It's an epicanthic fold. It's natural. I don't know. It's nature. It's how I am. Many South Africans look like this. They've got an epicanthic fold. Okay, now I'm a bit fatter. I need to lose some weight. But generally, if you look at this, I've got very strong bones here. Very strong. If you'd see my pictures, like in my teens, you would see very strong bones here. I've got a bit of something called igancho. And at the back, I've got something called nqensu, gancho, epicanthic fold, sharp cheekbones, proper South African features. Nothing to do with Asians. If anything, the Asians themselves are a mixed race of indigenous people who were there, who then mixed with Homo denisovans, other hominin species. There are indigenous people in Asia, maybe 2% blood now in those communities, but they were there. Now, let's look at other fellow South Africans. I'm gonna take someone like a typical South African person. This one. This is a typical South African looking guy. You understand? You go to any township, you see someone who looks like this. This is a typical South African. Just look at this man's features. The people of Tibunu or Tinubu will have you believe that this guy looks Asian. Thank you, Lipumelel. Thank you so much. This guy looks Asian according to the descendants of Tibunu, Tinubu, sorry. I'm sorry that we look like this. I'm sorry that we are like this. I'm sorry that we look strange to you guys. But this is how we are. I'm sorry that we look nice. I'm very sorry, but this is how we are. We are dark skin. We are light skin. We are brown. We are like this. We are like this. We've got epicanthic folds in our eyes. Some people have got monoliths in their eyes. Look at this gentleman's eyes. My grandmother looks exactly like this. Epicanthic fold. I have epicanthic fold myself. Let me show you another South African. Neizimu, epicanthic folds, sharp cheekbone, igancho, and inqenzu at the back. Proper South African looking gentleman. This is a proper South African looking gentleman. We don't look like Tinubu. There's nothing wrong if you look like Tinubu. These are two South Africans, two South African phenotypes on display here. Apparently, these are Asians today. You can't be African if you look like this today. So what does it mean to be African then? If I'm African, must I look like I'm Igbo? For me to be African, must I look like this now? This is how I must be for me to be African. I must have this thing that looks like triple heads in one. I must look like an alien creature. Huh? No, this is disrespect, man. They must stop disrespecting us. This is how we are, and there's nothing they can do about it. Look at this. This is a Zulu man. This is a Zulu man. Look at his epicanthic folds in the eyes. You can see that strong Kui look. He looks Kui, like the Kui people. Like the Kui people. That's just how we are. See, Nje? They're like these guys. There's nothing anyone can take away from us. If this means we are not African, then they must come at us directly. We'll fight back. We will fight back. Observer. Thank you, man. You are killing this thing, Observer. You are unaliving this thing, Observer. You keep me going, Observer. So if this look makes some other people uncomfortable, if this look means that our people are from Asia, magnuke mswane. How kunobathana mazilimeze etsheni madoda. Hute manikiniki kuyawushiyana nini ukondla. Kuzawucaca okhuliswe ngomqa nomphokoqo nophuthu nepapa nenkobe kokhuliswe ngejolof. Hute manikiniki. We are ready now. It's too much. It's too much. Why do we have to apologize for existing? Why is our existence a problem for some people? This is Balfour. This is how we are. I will look for the picture of Yakub. I will look for the picture of Yakub. So my people, this I wanted to find someone who's dark skinned, because I know people will say, light skin, Asian. Stop being obsessed with skin color, guys. Stop being obsessed with skin color. Us, we are comfortable the way we look. Whether you are dark skin or you look yellow or you look pink, we don't give a damn. If your bloodline is on point, if you know your history and your bloodline is on point, you are my sister, and that's it. This is a South African. Her name is Tato. Just look at it. Look at her properly. She's dark skinned, this one. Still, that proper South African look. You're not gonna mistake it for being from somewhere else. It's a proper South African phenotype. Now, this is not to say South Africans are not related to other humans. These are two South Africans as well. Proper South Africans. Proper South Africans. Even Julius Malema, it's a pity I don't have a picture of his. It's a pity I don't have a picture of Julius Malema. I wish I had one. This is a proper South African right here. So I don't understand. Clearly, you don't see an Asian when you see these people, guys. These are not Asians. Here's a nice one. Nice dark-skinned gentleman. But proper, very strong South African features. Very strong. Look at those cheekbones. Look at those eyes, Baba. Now, that's a real South African right there. It doesn't matter how dark or how yellow or what. And I'm not saying, please don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying South Africans all look like this. I'm not saying South Africans all are light skin, all are dark skin or whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah, but there is an actual phenotype that is generic in this region. Southern Africa. Even if you go to Botswana, even if you go to Namibia, Lesotho, Eswatini, even Zimbabwe. People think Zimbabweans look in a specific way. I've met Zimbabweans that I'm like, oh, damn. Understand? So there is a generic look. As diverse as that look is, but there is a generic look. It's not to say you can't go to West Africa and find someone who looks like us. There are people in West Africa who do look like Southern Africans. I know one guy, but that's not a generic look. Anyway, let me revert back. What I'm trying to deal with here is that people must not lie and say South Africans are Asians. This is not an Asian. This is Fikile Mbalula. Limpondo Mise. He's from the royal clan of Mampondo Mise. Geba, Pamkomo, Tole, Lomtwa Kazi. This is Impondo Mise. Fikile Mbalula. Eweke angalilo imene, but still, he's a South African. Mene or not, he's a South African, Baba. South African. These are South Africans. And we will not allow people to come with this replacement propaganda here. This replacement propaganda is not going to work. Find me on YouTube, guys. Sandile Tugan. Find me on YouTube. We have the toughest kind of hair here in South Africa. The strongest kind of hair. I'm a gaga. And you still want to say I'm Asian. Mara, your hair is literally so curly. You look like a... Some of these people are Arabs, actually. Some of these people who are busy staring nonsense here. They are just Arabs who just got locked into West Africa. Some of them are Arabs, Arab descendants. Some of them are originally North Africans. Someone said West Africa, Nigeria is actually closer to Germany than it is to South Africa. But somehow they have the unmitigated temerity to claim that South Africa is theirs. So anyway, I'm not going to take any longer. South Africa has nothing to do with West Africans at all. It's just an inherited antagonistic attitude towards the indigenous inhabitants of this country. It is an antagonistic attitude that started since the 1600s. There are many who have inherited it in Cape Town. There are men who have inherited it in Cape Town. There are men who have inherited it in KZN. There are men who have inherited it in Eastern Cape. No, this is our land, it's not yours. No, it's our land, it's not yours. But they don't give a damn about the ancestors of this land. You don't even have a single piece of love for the people, the real people of this land. You just want to claim things online. So please, back off from what is rightfully ours. Back off. Otherwise. So, that's what the life is for. To talk about the actual people of South Africa. The people who have been pushing this agenda from times past. Think about it. It started with Jan van Riebeeck, by the way. Read the diaries of Jan van Riebeeck, presses of the archives of the Cape Colony. Read those. They are full of colonial propaganda. When Jan van Riebeeck himself, the first thing they did when they got here was to steal a river. How do you steal a river? They did it though. They pulled it off. They stole the river in the city bowl of what is now Cape Town. That's what Jan van Riebeeck did. Just like the Portuguese stole an island. The Portuguese went and stole an island in Southeast Africa, which is called Mozambique today. The name Mozambique itself being a name of a Omani merchant, Musa ibn Bikwe. Musa ibn Bikwe. Nothing to do with the residents of the area. That's Mozambique for you. Just like Zanzibar has nothing to do with the people of the area. They call it Portuguese East Africa, just like they called Namibia German or Southwest Africa. So that's the first thing this bloody thief called Jan van Riebeeck did. I'm an observer. He stole a river. Guys, do you understand? Do you understand the guts and utter and complete delusion you must have for you to be able to go steal a river in another land, in a strange land? Jan van Riebeeck stole a river. By the way, he came with his wife. He came with his wife who was a Russian. This Jan van Riebeeck guy stole the river called Kamakwa. No, not Kamakwa. The Kamakwa were the people of the river. The river itself was called Kamisa. Kam is water, mos. Sa means sweet. Kamisa, sweet water for all. He stole that river, and then he obliterated the people who used to live along the banks of the river. And then he stopped any indigenous community from trading with ships. You can't trade with ships. You must pass through us. That's what Jan van Riebeeck did. Trust me, he did it. You can't get any trade with ships here. You must pass through us. Which means he took away their source of life, the water. He took away their economy. They can't trade with anyone except through them. Within the first 30 years of Jan van Riebeeck's arrival, between 1652 and 1682, 70% of the population was already gone, running to the Eastern Cape, running to the Northern Cape, running to Namibia, running to Mpumalanga, running to as far as Limpopo. I kid you not. I kid you not. That's 30 years. Just 30 years of the arrival of the Dutch. 70% of the population was gone in that area. The ones who remain had to split into two. The resistors, who get obliterated as well, and the collaborators, who get to claim First Nation status when there's no First Nation in South Africa. Because First Nation is a copycat approach taken from New Zealand and Australia and the Americas, from the Aboriginal community there. They are called First Nation in reference to Europeans. So the people that were found there by Europeans are called First Nation because they were first and then Europeans were second. Them, amongst themselves, they don't have to be related anyway. They're not necessarily related amongst themselves. So this First Nation thing is not a specific nation group. Even if there were people from Tanzania here when Jan van Riebeeck arrived, those people in the Western mind, they are still First Nation, although they are not from here themselves. So the idea of First Nation as being this divine existence that gives you right and primacy rights over all other groups is complete bollocks. So it was the people such as Willem Heinrich Bleek who pushed this agenda of categorizing our people. Willem Heinrich Bleek, 1. 2. Lucy Lloyd. The Bleek family and the Lloyd family, they did record the languages a lot, but a lot of them were also instrumental in the categorization of the people of this country. Thank you, Blue Moon. Thank you so much. And then you had Mary Barber and Thomas Boker. These are siblings. They wrote very, very many volumes on why the indigenous people of South Africa are Europeans, which is contradictory in and of itself, because how are you European and also you are an Aboriginal South African? To this day, here in Cape Town, there are still chairs that are written Europeans only. and non-Europeans only. They are still there, those chairs. I think they're embarrassed now. They'll probably remove those symbols. They're embarrassed. They didn't know what they were doing, shame. Because now they want to claim being indigenous. Mara, they already call themselves Europeans. It's coming back to bite them. And then you have Leonard Schulze. Leonard Schulze was a Nazi. Like many other white South Africans, by the way. To this day, many of them are Nazis. Leonard Schulze was a Nazi. He's the one who participated, he partook and fully enjoyed the Nama and Herero G-side that they were doing in Namibia. These bloody artists. Bloody artists. He was a arty German worshipping the Führer. Worshipping the Führer. He's the one who said, oh no, there's a group of people called Khoisan and they are subhuman. It's amazing to me when people use words like Khoisan today and Bushman and this and that, because the people who came with these ideas, they had a very good reason why they came with these concepts. The same thing as Bantu. I told you about Malcolm Guthrie, a reverend, a missionary from Zambia. Okay, a missionary to Zambia. I told you about Joseph Greenberg. Malcolm Guthrie, Joseph Greenberg. I told you about them. Joseph Greenberg, because he's Joseph Greenberg, we must believe him when he says, no, these people are from Cameroon. Malcolm Guthrie, because he's Malcolm Guthrie, we must listen to him when he says, no, these people are from Congo. It doesn't matter what the people are saying, as long as these two European men and Leonard Schulze, who says, these people are called Khoisans, you will call them Khoisans because I say so, and they are subhuman because I say so. You must listen to them. And anyone who tries to say anything different from that, you are labeled as crazy. Not anymore. Not anymore. So those are the people: Willem Blick, Lucy Lloyd, Leonard Schulze, Malcolm Guthrie, Joseph Greenberg, John Campbell. They worked day and night to rewrite the history of South Africa. Reverend A.T. Bryant, he wrote heavily on KZN communities and lied heavily about KZN communities. That's why people now, you've got Igbos who are claiming that Abambo are actually Igbo. They are Gbagbo. What nonsense is that? And then they'll go to Mozambique and say, no, it's not Gaza, it's not Gaza Nkulu, it's not the Gaza Empire means it's Gaza because South Africa is the real Middle East. And these groups, when these people created these groups like Khoisan and Bantu, these groups had nothing to do with genetics. These were pure linguistic groups. Let alone the fact that they did not even know the languages themselves. I've read some of the earliest written records of these people, by the way. I've read them, and it's like some of them is like children were writing. There's a guy called John Benny. He wrote in isiXhosa back in the 1800s. They say he's one of the first to write in isiXhosa. But when I read this thing that he wrote, it doesn't say, some of the lines don't make sense. He's the same person who's gonna go overseas to advise on Xhosa linguistic issues. Come on, guys. No. Masingaqhelwa amanqatha anqumileyo apha. Masingaqhelwa amanqatha anqumileyo namanqagisa. So we need to be very clear. Abambo, Amalala, Amadebe, Abenguni, Amantungwa, all those things. A European cannot define what those things are to us. Cannot. And that's where the problems began. I see today many people talking in words like Abambonguni, Amalalanguni, with hyphens. And I've never seen any group of people with hyphenated names in the history of indigenous society in South Africa. I knew the moment I saw Abambonguni that there's no such a thing as Abambonguni. Nothing at all. We are one people. We just have different lifestyles. Some of us prefer the caves. Some of us prefer the bush. Some of us prefer to do mining and goldsmithing and blacksmithing. Some of us are good in political stuff. And I can even mention names. I can drop names, which groups were known for what. But that defeats the purpose of what I'm saying. That defeats the purpose. What I'm saying is, Abambo are not Agbagbo. They are not Igbo people. Abambo are indigenous to this land, and they're people who do iron smithing, goldsmithing. They are the smiths of Southern Africa. Now, I once mentioned that an ore, iron ore or whatever kind of ore, we call it isinyiti. It's the rock you take underground and you need to put it into the fire hearth. We call the fire hearth islangalala. And then in the fire hearth, you need to blow some air. We call those things umfuta. We call them ifuta. Those things you blow the air with. It could be goat skin. It's normally goat skin that is used. Whatever you make from there, we call that process ukuqonga or ukuqinga. Ukuqonga or ukuqinga. That's what we call that. And whatever you make from there, it could be indimbi, it could be ubedu, it could be iqina, it could be itusi, it could be imbenga, which is gold, by the way. Different types of things. These are indigenous names. We've been using this indigenous name for a very long time. There's evidence of mining activity in this country going back thousands of years. So, Abambo, Abenguni, whatever groups you want to use, linguistic groups, these are indigenous people of this land, of this region. They have nothing to do with Asians. If there are any Asians who came here, we know the clans. It's not even 0.1%. I did a live, I did yesterday. I was talking about the descendants of Europeans. We know them. We know the descendants of John Donne. We know the descendants of William Saunders. We know the descendants of the Irish, of the Scottish. We know the descendants of the Maroons and the Portuguese. We know them. It's not like we don't know these things. Amalala are a group of blacksmiths. Yes. Specifically, they work with iron. Amalala. But it overlaps. The identity of Ubulala and Ubumbo is one and the same. It overlaps time and again. Because it's an identity based on lifestyle. You understand? It's an identity based on lifestyle. Where are they coming from? They're coming from here. Amalala, Bengun, these are people from here. Guys, remember now, the idea of coming from somewhere else, in and of itself, is distorted. Amamolo, Silumko, Amamolo, Agiri, they are Mosmos. Those ones. Amamolo, they are Moorish descendants. Or Maroon, whatever. You see, in Great Zimbabwe, Mwene Mutapa, Mapungube, we did have a lot of Bedouins, Moors, we did have a lot of Omani, Yemeni peoples. They came here, there was a lot of them. To this day, some of the descendants of those people are still known. We mentioned in one of the lives when we were talking about Watsonga, we mentioned the Salefa people or the descendants of Al Saleh. We mentioned the Suleimani people. We mentioned the Shabi people. Julius Malema himself, he's a descendant of people from Yemen and Oman and Saudi Arabia. Julius Malema, he was Kimu Shabi. The Shabi people. Shabi is a word in those Semitic languages. The Shabi people came here as traders, many of them. But they were accepted into indigenous societies. You see, we initiated them into our societies. And these people know it themselves. It's not like they don't know this thing. Just yesterday, when I posted that thing about descendants of Europeans, people came into the comments and were like, yeah, you're right. My mother comes from those people. Their first ancestor here was this person and that person. So groups like Abenguni, Abambo, all these groups that you know in South Africa today, all these groups, Bavenda, Batsonga, all of them, these groups were made here. They were formed here. These are not groups that came from somewhere else. Not at all. Now, there had been earlier cultures. There have been earlier cultures, such as cultures that existed in the valley of Limpopo River and Shashe River. There were cultures there. There were cultures even further north, maybe into the Zambia areas. So sometimes they are called the Kalundu cultures, the Urewe cultures. But this is like 2,000, 3,000 years back. There is some evidence of cultures that were there. But today, those cultures are no longer there. They definitely were absorbed into the modern polities. The modern polities that we know today as Vashona, that we know today as Vakalanga. It's not to say Vakalanga themselves came from somewhere else. They formed here. Amaxhosa formed here. Amazulu were formed here. There was no Amazulu any other place. None whatsoever. There's no Zulu person who existed anywhere outside of South Africa. The Zulu people or people who are related to Amazulu who exist outside come from here. That's it. Any other information that deviates from this, it deviates on all fronts. There is no archaeology that proves that. There's no linguistic evidence that proves that. There are no oral accounts that prove that. All evidence suggests that these cultures that are in South Africa today, most of them were moving between the Limpopo area and Cape Town and the Limpopo area and Cape Town. Most of these cultures, including Emaswati, all of them, including Emaswati. There's no culture that exists today. Remember, guys, the cultures that are in South Africa, there's no culture that's 2,000 years old. Yes, the forefathers of these cultures are older. Sorry guys for putting this picture, man. I forget. You know, I'm in the zone now. I'm in the zone. Let me put this one. There are no cultures that are older than 2,000 years old today in South Africa. Most of the cultures we have here are 800 years old, 700 years old, and even younger. Even younger. So there's no way that Amazulu could have come from somewhere else. There's no way. It's absolute bollocks. It's cows, S-H-I-T. Now, am I saying that the people in Southern Africa are not related to other Africans? Not at all. I'm not saying that. Instead, what I'm saying is the people in Southern Africa are not people who were imported from somewhere else. These are organic Southern African cultures. This obsession with Southern Africa is very interesting because I don't see people dedicating equivalent amounts of time to understand the people of the Sudan area, the Nile area. Where did they come from? I don't see the same amount of effort exerted to understand the people of the Delta region. I don't see the same amount of effort being put forward in terms of understanding the people of Central Africa. But somehow the people of Southern Africa must always justify their right to exist. For me, it seems like a malicious agenda to strip our people of their right to exist. Here's the thing, we're not going anywhere. I know they're here, they're watching. I know you bloody liars are here watching and you're gonna go and change your opinions on your lives. I know you bloody liars are here, you are watching and you're gonna go take some of what I'm saying and make it as if it's yours. Your day is coming because each dog has its own day, mother. Your day is coming because each dog has its own day. Listen here and listen properly. Listen here and listen properly. The people of this country have every right to exist here. Someone is saying, I really don't think you are assisting us, Sandile. I don't know who you are, ne? So until you are clear on what you want, I'm not going to stop what I'm saying and then try and understand what you're saying. As it should be up. So say what you want to say, I will answer when I can. But I have an agenda for this live and I need to finish what I'm saying. That's not how I work here. I'm not going to be blown to and fro by every piece of wind that is blowing here. That's not how I work. So if someone wants to say something, say it. But if I don't want to reply because I'm speaking something, I have a purpose why I'm live. I'm not live because I don't have anything to do. I could be doing other things. So if you say something I don't answer, accept it. I don't answer. Or I will block you. Brother Lee Makar. Talk to us.
Labao,
Bren,
Gasela.
Tinsa.
I know, injalo mkhulu. You know, Mina, I've been calling this move a displacement mechanism because maybe some people are perplexed by who we are, and now they want to put some mysticism into everything. You know, because one day we are Israelites, one day we are Indian, one day we are Chinese, one day we are Arabs. It's not adding up. This mixture is not adding up. You know, thank you.
Guys, there's a modus operandi here. There's a modus operandi. I'm not I'm not a TikToker. Okay? I'm not a TikToker, just for those who don't know me. I research knowledge. I share it if I want to, and I don't share if I don't want. I'm not a TikToker. So if you want, maybe you feel so heavily, strongly about your point, you want me to get it across, perhaps you should actually give some gifts. If Observer says, Sandile, could you have a look at this thing? Do you know that I'm going to jump and have a look at it? Because this person is actually deriving value from my work and is showing it. Observer is gifting. So perhaps you should do that if you really feel like this point you are coming with deserves paramount attention. Because now you're telling me that what I'm saying is not important. What's important is what you want me to say. That's tantamount disrespect. And I don't play nicely when it comes to those things. I'm not some Mr. Nice Guy here. Anyway, thank you, Brother Lee Makara. One day, Israelites. The next day, Moors. The other day, we are Anunnaki. The other day, we are the people of Anu. And the people of Antu, we came from the sky. I'm sorry, guys, but we are not all deluded. This is my YouTube channel, guys. Sandile Tugani. There's about 119 videos. Go and subscribe. Go and watch. And share. It's very important. Everything that I discuss on this live, everything is there. A lot of the questions that people are asking, I just don't have the energy to answer because I've addressed them maybe 3 months ago already. Things like, who are the Nguni? Who are the Abambo? These are stuff that I've been addressing 5 lives at a time. And my lives go for 3 hours, sometimes for 4 hours, just addressing what is Nguni. Now, I can't at every other live that I'm hosting go back to explain. Nguni is this every time. I ngeke, guys. And your cake. And your cake. All right. I'm not angry, but I just want to clarify that maybe what you are asking me, I've already addressed before. So the best thing to do, go and watch the other lives. And my train of thought, I don't want it to be disturbed, because if I get disturbed, I lose the point. And when I do lives, I actually prepare. I've got a bullet point that I need to go through and show to the people. And the people will go and compare and contrast with their information. We are not running a cult. I expect people to go and compare and contrast. And I expect people to disagree, but disagree with something substantial. Anyway, South Africans, our history, and if you are here, you are a West African and you feel offended, you have every right to feel offended, Yabo. I am offensive, but it's not personal. We have to correct the wrongs. You understand? We have to correct wrongs. West Africans, stop acting like Europeans. Stop it. Stop acting like Europeans. You are not Europeans. So don't act like Europeans here. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of who you are. Revive your history and embrace it. We are familiar. We are very familiar with aggression in South Africa. We are not scared. I am not scared. I'm speaking for myself now. I'm not scared because I know who I am. So please, don't be a nuisance. Musani ukuba zizaphuselane. The work we are doing here is very critical. So guys, just maybe to touch quickly on this thing. Abambo, Abenguni, Abesuthu, and all these groups that you know today. These are ancient cultures. These are people who come from ancient bloodlines, right? But the polities, the cultures themselves, the modern day cultures that you see today are not these ancient things. The values of the culture, the principles, the practices are very ancient. Thank you, Black Root Science. Thank you, my brother. Brother. No. Pusilane. It's a pusilane. It's a pusilane is something that's a nuisance. A nuisance, like something that's just bothering you here. Sisa pusilane is. So our cultures are ancient, our practices are ancient, but the polities. What is a policy? A polity is a political structure. These things that people call tribes. We are not tribes. We are communities. We are ethnic communities based on specific political structures. Now, there are three distinct political structures amongst the indigenous communities in South Africa. And these three distinct political structures are fluid. People move in between these distinct structures. I'll give you an example. The Drakensberg mountain range, Maluti, Ukahlamba, Ulundi, whatever name they are called, this mountain range was a boiling pot of different lifestyles. You had people who kept cattle, you had people who were horse riders, you had people who were hunters, you had people who lived in caves. Some of my ancestors were those people. You had people who had chiefdoms, where they had chiefs and all that. You had people who were like bandits. That is to say, they lived in bands. They were like groups in one region. And these people are all related. Until the 18 to 1900s, this was the reality in the Drakensberg. This is why you also hear about stories about cannibalism. The cannibals were not part of any kingdom. They were bandits. They were like a band of people who just stayed in those bushes of the Drakensberg looking for victims. You understand? Looking for victims. That's literally one region. Some people are hunters. I've seen pictures of Bafokeng dressed exactly the same as the so-called Bushmen. And I say so-called because even the title Bushman is very dumb. I've seen pictures of Bafokeng dressed exactly the same as the so-called Bushmen of the Kalahari. If you know about Kaika, if you know Kaika and Kumango and Ngamko or Ngamko, if you know them, that guy who goes around giving people tours, the way he's dressed, I've seen Bafokeng dressed in the exact same sense, exact same way. Hunting. You understand? Just because now they don't dress that way, it doesn't make them invaders in this land. If they were dressed that way, you were not going to say they were invaders. So even the claims that some people are invaders come from a gross ignorance of what it means to be indigenous to this land. A gross ignorance. The people do not know what it means to be an indigenous person. Let me explain what it means to be indigenous. To be indigenous is to be a native of a land. And to be indigenous is also to be a native and an aboriginal. Now, aboriginal may have an extra layer, thank you, observer, may have an extra layer into it, tracing back to the most ancient people. But let me tell you something. Let's go to some of the so-called Bushman societies. What do they say? What do they say? Who do they say are the aboriginals? Who do they say are the first people? What do they say in these communities? Because a lot of the times we don't hear these people speak. By these people, I mean the ones that the media tells us these are the real ones. Because Tina Siayaz, Ubaba Ayanda Msweli, Kumutwa, we know Credo Mutwa, Mtwa. We know people of Msimang, Gabatwa. We know many people of Amavudle, Gabatwa. We know Amatlesibe, Gabatwa. We know Amakoma, Gabatwa. We know Amakakwe, Gabatwa. We know Amangi, Gabatwa. We know Amaki, Gabatwa. We know Amakunukwebe, Gabatwa. We know this. Countless numbers of people, but nobody wants to talk about that part because it doesn't serve their agenda. So there's these ones that they show on TV, these extinct looking people, apparently like Ngau Oma. This one on this picture, Ngau Oma. Do you understand? Ngau Oma. Do you know Ngau is? No Ngau, the name No Ngau is literally the feminine version of Ngau. Ngau Oma. This man's name is the male version name of Non-Ngause. The male version of Non-Ngause. Ngau means great hunter. Then it also means like things like a hyena. Some of the hunting animals can be called Ngau because they hunt a lot. You see? Now, people like Ngau Toma, people like to brandish them like a firebrand, show them all over as if there's some firebrand. Yeah, these are the real Bushmen. Okay, they are, because these are our people. What do they say about this first people nonsense? What do they say? Firstly, there's a saying. There's a saying called Nqasi or Qengasi. The saying Qengasi, when we talk about the people of this country, you cannot talk unless you go to the Qengasi people. What is the Qengasi people? In isiXhosa, ngama. What is Ngqangi? Ngqangi is a cognate of Ngqanji and Ngqange, which you see in the word Mveli Ngqange. Ngqange means kuqala. So Ngqangi are literally the first ones, the beginning ones. The beginning ones. You understand? Now, why do we have people known as Qengasi? Because we understand we are not all the same age. Some of our polities are younger than others. Some of our political structures are younger than others. Indigenously, that's something we know. It's not like some rocket science. That's something we know. Some of us are older than others. So now, how do the oldest cultures process this? There's a saying, eti kwe ngase. The Basarwa and the Barwa say that. They say kwe ngase. It translates to first there sitting. The first there sitting. These are the Qengasi people, the one we consider the oldest. They telling us about the one they consider the oldest. They themselves consider another group as the oldest. The Trump people tell us that there used to be a group of people who are the first nation, the real first nation. In the mythical past, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all the animals, and many insects too, they were people. That's what the Trump say. That's what the Trump say. In the remote past, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all the animals, and many insects too, they were people. They were the Qengase, the first there sitting ones, which means the first original settlers, the original dwellers. These folk looked human and lived much as the original Tram, but they possessed simultaneously attributes that made them unique and different from real people. It was this formative and unstable combination of human and non-human qualities that eventually caused the collapse of the early race of society and the subsequent establishment of an order which the planets, humans, and the other organisms became distinct entities we recognize. So what the eldest groups say, there was another older group, but this older group was not entirely human. This older group had abilities to switch from human to other things. That's why they say the sun, the moon, and the stars symbolize these people and insects. So if you listen to the stories we were told as children, cows talk, snakes talk, there are giants that are eating humans. This is what the oldest cultures are telling you. That there were, when I said, hey, the first sitting there, people, but they got extinct because of their ability to be different things. I think they probably destroyed each other. So they say the idea of these entities sitting there corresponds to one conception of the Hopi Kachina as a sitter. That is, the one who sits with the people and among other things, listen to their petition. So the idea of gods, monsters, is the original ancestors. It's Tram. It means the first there sitting people. So I just wanted to go to the idea where means people. Means people. So it's I'm going to write it now. So this idea of First Nation, the people who claim it don't even know. They don't even want to know, by the way. They don't even want to know. What they want is to just say, I'm better than this, I'm better than this black or this one or this other one. The bull, absolutely. The bull is symbolic of the most ancient of our kings. The bull is symbolic of the king. The bull is symbolic of our continuity. Because without the bull, there's no sustenance. Because the bull is the one that's going to go to all the heifers and give them calves. Exactly. This is why you have entities like Tiko or Tikwab or Tinwa, aka Umlenze Munye. This is why you have entities like Kang, aka Ilanga. This is why you have entities like Chagen, Umcikwane, aka Umangendana, or Twalimbiza, I think Twalibodo, I'm not sure what they call it in Sizulu. These creatures like the praying mantis are seen as a manifestation of the original race. That's why we respect these creatures. The bees, the praying mantis, the dog, all of them. In fact, when I grew up, I was told good Inja symbolizes those who are in the spiritual realm. That's what a dog symbolizes. Anyway, so when you go to the actual people who live the lifestyle, who live it every day, this thing of being an indigenous person, they live it. It's part of who they are. They don't go to buy at Woolies. And I'm not saying don't buy at Woolies. Please, I also buy. Mara, the avocados are too expensive. Aye, guys, it's too much. The avocados are too expensive, Shebanna. I need avocados from Bumalaga and Lipopo. There's also the 2 avocados for 60 rand. And they're tiny, these things. They are so tiny. Anyway, they don't buy from Woolies, these people. They live the lifestyle. They tell you, no, Tina, we know the first people, the real first people. We know who they are. So, it's just interesting to me. It's just interesting to me that people who have just come to know of some of these things 3 years ago, they are already there claiming online. They are already there claiming online. Animals, Baba. In indigenous culture, they are understood to symbolize something. Umntu akafi uyadlula. Umntu akafi, a person doesn't die. They pass on. In their passing on, we believe that the dog as a symbol of companionship, it accompanies them. This is the very essence of Anubis. Anubis is the very essence of that. It's a dog or canine creature that accompanies you to the other world. Hush. That's why when I was young, we were told, don't chase away a dog, Baba. Never chase away a dog in a ceremony. If dogs are here, the dogs symbolize that the ancients are happy. We never chased away dogs, Tina. Well, we didn't either. We didn't sleep with them in the same sleeping place like you see some of these people do to this day. A dog was still a dog, but we never mistreated it because we understand what it symbolizes at home. Just like inkomo. Inkomo vele. When you need to strengthen the home, you take an entire bull, you burn it in the kraal because the kraal is literally the altar of the home. In further, there's a story of a cow, Udulube, who was being chased by Igongong. Now the word Gongong means deep into the hole, deep into the pit. Literally means the bottomless pit plunger. Gongong. Because gong means to go down into the pit. I'm about to give you a chance, guys. 2 minutes, and then I'm going to give you a chance, Sonini and Kanyezi and Amzo. Gongong means deep into the pit from the word gong. So, Dulube is the name of a cow. In fact, the number of people talk about Haitseb and Gong Arib or Gong Arib or Gong Arib. It's the exact same thing that I was told when I was young. Haitseb is a bull, but this bull likes to sing. It likes to sing about trees. That's why it's called Haitseb. Hai is a tree. Hai is a tree, which is interesting because in other languages it's Chai. If you go to Izihlonipho zesiZulu, you will know that the name for a tree in Izihlonipho is Ichewa. Chewa, that's a tree. Chai, we call it Chai. Haitseb. Ichewase. Uchewase. Gumntu wemithi. It's the man of the trees. So this bull, Udulube, used to sing so much about trees. His nickname was the tree one. Haitseb or Haitseb. He fought this other creature which was known to make people plunge into the hole. Go on Harib or Amagong. What this is showing you is there was a king who overcame something. Whether that thing is death, whether that thing is something that symbolizes death, it doesn't matter. But when this king finally passed away in the future, there's a live I dedicated to this story. When this king passed away, do you know how they buried this king? Do you know? They buried him and then they put a heap of stones. It's Vivane, a heap of stones on top of him. This was the grave of Haitseb. To this day, the number people call is Vivane, Haitseb Abib, which means, oh, Haitseb, Ulap, Haitseb is here. Haitseb Abib, the grave, which is a heap of stones. Think about a pyramid and think about the earliest form of a pyramid. Think about the earliest form of a pyramid. It's a heap of stones. It's Vivan. To this day, when I was young, when I was younger, in my entire family, we never used tombstone when we bury. Ever. We never used tombstones. We put a heap of stones on top of the body of a person. I'm yet to see a tombstone in my entire family. It's not something we do. Or neither do we bury in these yards, these graveyards, by the way. We don't use that. We don't use graveyards. The proper way of burying was, you bury someone in a field within the family compound. There's a field there by the corner. You bury them there. Anyway, that's beyond the point. So what I'm saying is, when you go to the actual indigenous people, they tell you something completely different. Their idea of First Nation, their idea of Aboriginal is completely different to what you hear from political party-driven people who want to claim things. Completely different. So it begs one now to wonder, what is the end goal of the people who are claiming things that are far from them? And ultimately, the people of South Africa are the people of South Africa. The people of West Africa are the people of West Africa. The people of Europe must remain the people of Europe. They must not try to claim our things. Otherwise, the sun is going to keep on chowing. The sun is going to keep on collaborating. The sun is going to keep on frying. So, Nini Melanini, talk to us. Are you still with us?
Papa, I'm outside, Papa. It's about the Papa.
Talk to us.
Yeah, yeah. I know if you're getting feedback, you might have mute up, but they were saying, yes, I learned along my way, bro. It's yeah, we speak tonal. I understand there's a difference. It's when you come down into the indigenous language, it's way different than you want to do etymology with the English words. It's in a whole total different feel. I feel privileged at the
Yes.
same time to reach this far. Secondly, I feel privileged to be interacting with people who know the sacred language or language that most people think that is lost. And I think I've been in that present is for purposely kind of talk to me and tell me some things, even to extend on that. And yeah, I don't feel in it. And as I already been saying and showing you guys, you see to unhook the phonics in this anglicized language, what we call English,
Yes.
I could do that. But you see, when we come back to the indigenous language, that is where I need a guide. You understand? A mentor. I say, well, okay, when it comes, you know what I'm saying? So I was also say, so me on the battlefield and on TikTok and going on any Bible nonsense with them. You understand? Is my way of exposing, and for those who see it and learning, that's all right. You have to go from you're going back to from whence you come. You go back to the stage, and when you reach this point, you need to go back to indigenous people, back to the language in a different realm. I just trying to help as much as I could. I understand my purpose. My purpose was to expose the trickery in the English language to people like Lee and yourself. They were just believed so highly because, bro, for the last year or 2 years, bro, I was getting bashed, misunderstood, and Lee was the only person out of the whole bunch of it that end up understanding what exactly, man. He heard my resonance, he heard my tonal frequency then, and he was able to come down and explain to you guys where first I really trying to come from, and I see that you guys actually actually applying it and decoding the madness. So I feel privileged again that I feel like I do my part. You know what I'm saying? Now, when it comes to my personal work, Yovas, they say, well, when the student ready, the master shall appear. I ready a long time. I ready since I'm my mother's womb. You understand? So wherever this master is or whoever this master is, just please come, please. I am ready. I've been ready because I am fed up of the English language. It's not a joke. I'm fed up. I'm
Yeah.
fed up.
No, thank you, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. Remember, I did say you can always reach out to me. You can always reach out, and we're gonna organize something. I'm already running classes now for those who wanna get into the depth of the language. It doesn't matter if you speak isiZulu or isiXhosa. If you speak the one that is taught at school, and you don't know the depth, the depth of the language is like, there are many words that people don't understand that will link them to all the language. Like in isiZulu, two, bubili is two. But if you go into the depths of isiZulu, unkwica is the actual word for two. Thank you guys for the gifts. Unkwica is the actual word for two. And many people have never heard that. In isiZulu, a bull known as inkunzi, but if you go in depth, it's known as inzek. You understand? Ulwi is the tongue, but an older version used in isihlonipho today is known as uluzek. Yabo. And I've got thousands and thousands of similar words that if you really go deep into understanding them, you will realize them. isiZulu is much deeper than I thought. I've heard people say isiZulu doesn't have that many click words. You don't know isiZulu, that's why you think so. If you get into the depths of isiZulu, you will actually realize one thing: isiZulu and isiXhosa is the exact same thing. And I speak isiXhosa. I don't speak just isiXhosa. I speak isiXhosa at a deep level. Even some Xhosa people don't know the isiXhosa I speak. Mara, when I went deep into isiZulu, angeke. Uyabona when they say isihlobo a relative in isiZulu esinzulu, bathi isiyoco. Bathi isiyoco. Ihlathi, a forest, bathi liyobo. Dathi yo. A person, ubabuye bathi ngumuyo, and abaninzi abayo. And this is how then you get to see, oh, umuyo in isiZulu, you go to maybe Gwinkia or Tregu, they all have the exact same word. You realize, damn, in isiZulu, for water, bathi ngamayiwa, amaXhosa bona bathi ngamayila. Yeah? These are words you'll never hear anywhere else. So if you want to just enroll, send me an inbox. I will absolutely add you to the group. And obviously, there's obviously cost involved. But I'm just saying, I'm just giving you a bit of taste of the work that is still at hand. I was doing a bit earlier today. Just looking at some of the girl regiments, because people would make you think that girls were just these people who were sitting around cooking all the time. There were regiments, even KwaZulu, of girls. Yabon. For example, Ushaka formed a regiment of girls known as Umchekecheke. There were a regiment, that's their name. Umchekecheke was formed by Ushaka. Another regiment was called Imbabazan. Now, Umchekecheke, if you understand the word cheke, if you understand the word cheke, anyone, it means to walk with a gait. Yeah, but with a gait, like to walk proudly, but also to walk with rattling noises. So I think maybe these girls used to wear rattles on their feet. And Imbabazane is actually the stinging nettle. So it's something that's stinging, from the word ukbaba, to sting, let alone the other word for hot. So Imbabazane was also a regiment for girls. The stinging nettle. I can imagine what those girls were capable of. There was another regiment for girls that was formed by Unansika, Ucetshwayo. It's called Ingcuce. Ingcuce was formed by Ucetshwayo next to the Istimane of Umbande. These were regiments, and most of these regiments used to marry into the regiment known as Indlondlo and Udloko. Now, Ingcuce literally means the plunderers. Abapang, those who plunder. And these are girls. So I want you to think about the names and what they could have possibly been doing. Yabo. And then there are many others like Inzawu, Islabati, Ukudludonga. These are all field regiments. So I just thought these are also things we never actually get to talk about. But in that 6-month program that I'm running under Sandile Tukano University, it's stuff that you've never heard of, you probably will never hear of, and I structure them there. Kanyezi, talk to us.
Enkosi Mhlekazi, enkosi. Sonini, I like your accent, man. That Caribbean accent does it for me. Whenever I hear it, it's really brilliant. Mhlekazi, man, it's always important that we give credit where credit is due. Mhle umsebenzi owenzayo, and for me, you are a pure scholar and all-rounded. We need more of Sandiles. Information yako is unparalleled, what you present, and I just wish you grow bigger and bigger. I pray maske ube na more impact to our people. I wish there was 1,000 people on this live, like it would be if it was Scotine, for example, because we need this information. Our people need to get this information because it's not taught at school. So it's very important what you're doing. In other words, I'm trying to say, keep it up. But into endizisa apha wena Mhlekazi, I was just passing by in the afternoon and I saw the Igbo live. I've never heard of that thing before. Ndiyaqala nje ukuyiva lanto andiyazi mina into enje. Anyway, we learn every day.
Yes.
So as far as that is concerned, when Ali Makara, these guys, I think when you were left in that live, they were talking about the origins of a monarch, absolute monarch, kuba ivelaphi. Thina ngokokwazi kwethu ubukhosi there isn't a clan that does not have ubukhosi bayo. Ayikho. In other words, uZulu noma uShaka Zulu is not more special than amabhele umzekelo. Of course, we know history, we know what we did, we know what he did, we know what the British did for him, promoter as if he's the best thing that ever happened to South Africa. But the point I would have added when Ali, ubukhosi is spiritual inheritance yendawo. Kukho
Yeah.
amakhosi omhlabathi, kukho amakhosi entaba, kukho amakhosi endawo, sorry, amanzi, njalo njalo. So if you listen to clan names are always trying to tell you a story of that particular people. So thina ngokwazi kwethu ke ubukhosi is a spiritual inheritance that would go hand in hand nempande zendawo, because if people were migrating to a specific place, abagcini bezikhwama bendawo ngabo okufuneke bayiqonde le ndawo abazongena kuyo by being in touch or nxulumanyo labo nempande zendawo. I don't know how to put this, but isikhwama funeke sivule indawo kucaca uba leyo ndawo abaza kuyo iphethwe ngamaphi amakhosi. How do they communicate to them? Intoni ezawube iphakamisa amakhosi aloo ndawo ukwenzela uba if kuthethwa ngobukhosi there is direct connection to the land, to the minerals of the area and so forth. So absolute monarchy, I'm not too sure, but you know, as an English term, what it would mean, because obviously it would associate itself with the conquering of the Europeans, I would guess. However, thina ubukhosi ngendlela esiqonda ngayo busebenza kanjalo, buphuma kuzikhwama zalo nation or zobo buzwe. In other words, it's a spiritual thing. It has nothing to do with trying to conquer, as far as I understand. So that's how I would have answered those guys. And iqondi noba bayayazi into enokwenza nezikhwama. Awukwazi uba nomkhosi ungenazo izikhwama. You can't.
They know nothing, those ones. They know
Okay.
nothing. The only thing they know is human sacrifice.
Yeah,
You understand?
yayibona loo nto. So, and ipoint yesibini boso ithachile wena Sandile, although I would just add to it, xa uthetha ngokuthi amaZulu, amaXhosa zonke, this is new. 2,000-3,000 years ago there was no such. I'm from the south of Johannesburg. I'm between south and east of Johannesburg. There's many ancient sites up when Sandile. I mean ancient. Upper Ekatlehong, there is a park okuthiwa Ikwanele Park. Ikwanele Park is an ancient site of in a residual meteorite eyawela pha. Hence it's a national heritage site. Abantu abaninzi they don't know, but iconnectwa ngamanzi that go up to Klipprivier, up to Albertine, then right across, right adayo amanzi amanye ahamba ngaphansi aya eGujimistin Lake, and then just behind the Al Road between Klipprivier, Thokoza and Albertine South, kunendawo pha there used to be a factory tiles, the so-called Italian tiles, kuthiwa kwaBrit. Brit on its own is an ancient site because la mhlaba ngowenza i-tiles ezininzi i-clay brick ezezibomvu, most of them came from kwaBrit, and uBrit yonke till today, but it's dilapidated because la family left pha. But yonke lo ndawo it's a ruin of an ancient civilization, probably 3,000 years ago. But ezinto ezi uyakwazi uzibona uba uphiwe, and till today zisesenemfihlo zakhona, but uba une-luck okanye you are gifted with the revelation of the place, you are able to pick up the spirits that are there. So in other words, debate ye so-called First Nation, it just falls away if you could understand that aspect of history of which it's not taught. And I would guess you guys are aware of a Cat Blanche research or investigation that they did a few years ago, where they did not disclose where exactly there was, but they found this the biggest cave ever found in South Africa. It's also here in the south. And when they went down, they came up with Atlantic cobalt, but they could not say where exactly there was. It was here in the south, the same area that I'm talking about. So now, if you gonna want to bog down Abantu to First Nations, Tonton Aboriginal, what are you talking about? And the point I made here, lento of Aboriginal people, coloreds, this and that. The same colored people in the 80s, they never wanted to associate themselves with Nabato because they saw them as below them. So it's surprising, Bango, today they are claiming the same people. And if you can say that, they will not be happy. Ipoint yokugqibela ebendifuna uyibeka wena mhlekazi, it's the part of Maphungube and Bavenda people. Unyanisile xa usitsho uba aba bantu, they are mixed up with Arabs through la trade yakuzanzibar nelantika ne-trade ye-gold and all of that. If you can look at Bavenda and Bapedi, certain clans with them, when they have short hair, have you noticed they've got that wavy hair? They've got that, and those strong quote unquote Arabic and Indian features uba ungabajonga banayinto bangathi bangamandiya and banokusondelana, although they'll have strong features in terms of big lips and that flat nose, but their hair and their skin tone compared to the so-called Nguni, you can see the difference. As annual zabo, they just give away a lot of information. If you have been to Tohoyando ezo ndawo, uzawabona uba aba bantu bohlukile, banayo la influence ya East Africans, like abantu baseZanzibar, abanye Tanzania, especially aba who have an old culture Islam. So you can see that trade route that goes right through. So nizama uthini kuwe mhlekazi, ndiyayivumelana nawe xa uthetha nge-influence yama-Arab pha kumaphungu area. Enkosi.
Kamagu.
Yes.
So with mixture, ne, a lot of the times, and I'm saying this to everyone, a lot of the times, abantu, when we talk about groups that are mixed, they tend to make the mistake that if, let's say, Abelungu did mix with Amazulu, it's not to say some people, and I'm saying it for everyone, some people assume that we're saying every Zulu person that you see walking there, unegazi labelungu. Akunjalo. There's specific groups within those communities. The live I did on, it's called We Are White. I posted it on YouTube. You will see descendants of Europeans, they're straight. Some of them are very dark, some of them are clearly descendants of Europeans. So kukhona nje ed mixture ikhona. I remember we had a live with my brother Mukaranga Wagwambe. He went deep into the different families of who descend from these Arabs and traders from Middle East and Asia. But the most important thing when we talk about ethics is that the indigenous people already know who's the descendants of those people. They already know. So that's always important. That if you want to know who's mixed and who's not, go to those people. They will tell you one. And then another thing I wanted to say is, a lot of them, they still don't want to be related to Abatwa. A lot of them still don't want to be related to Abatwa. I was traveling, I think 2023. I was going to George. What was I doing? I was going to George for some reason, yeah. And then I stopped in a town called Refuting, and it's in a region called Overberg. Ne? I know some history about that area. I know the people who live there, they had a very old tradition of they paid tribute to the Xhosa kingdom, or to what became the Xhosa kingdom in the 1600s. So when I passed there, I was like, hey man, you guys, you are descendants of this group of people. Yeah. I was warned. Hey, Baba, don't mention those things. You are offending people. Literally, I was told that if I talk about those things of Kwe and what, I'm offending people. Yeah, bon. So it's just an amazing thing for me that today the same people bafuna ukuthi bangabathwa mara a few years ago it was an offense to call them abathwa. A big offense. I was told straight there, when you're offending us, don't call us those things. So, and also it was a big thing for them to mention that they've got a German ancestor. So I stayed in George for a year, and I had a guy called with the same name Kirshner. Now Kirshner comes from the word kerk, which means church. So it's probably a church steward, church servant. So I'm talking to this guy, he's Kirshner, and he's telling me, I have a German ancestor, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, observer. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my sister. Thank you, whoever you are. This guy's like, I have an ancestor from the German side of things. Hey, I'm like, hey, all these people they've got German ancestors, ne? And I get it, they do. I get it, but by the time he left the company we were working for, this guy was busy searching the abattoir. Now he's gonna change. He's gonna stop now being a German descendant. Next thing he's gonna be telling people Amaxhosa in Cape Town that they are invaders. Amazulu and that they are invaders. So banya ngamazwi aphangaleleyo. Banya nyi. Hayi sisintu bantu kwethu. Anthuki koko nje ndiyacacisa. Ngxe. So yeah, there's that. And then maybe to go a bit further, thank you guys for the gift. Thank you. Maybe to go a bit more on the depth of language. Guys, I promise you, once you learn the hidden parts of our languages, in our languages, we've got something called izihlonipho. Izihlonipho, what are they? They are a way to package secrets, basically. Secrets are packaged through izihlonipho, which are logged in by rites of passage. Whether it's a rite of passage into womanhood, whether it's a rite of passage into manhood, whether it's a rite of passage into being a hunter, whether it's a rite of passage into being part of Ibuto that is going to die for the king, the bodyguard. We used to call them Amafana Nkos. Whether it's a rite of passage into being Igriha or Sangoma, any rite of passage that you go to, for anyone who has been initiated in any way, indigenously, I don't mean initiation into some secret society that is going to lie to you and tell you about Haile Selassie. I'm talking about indigenous.
Excuse me, host.
Yeah.
Excuse me, host. My apologies for interjecting as a touching on the language.
Yes.
Could you go deeper into your knowledge when it surrounds the nomos, and language? If you can, and if you can or will, I'll appreciate you highlighting everyone and me specifically
on which language?
I do give thanks. When touching language, you understand how does the nomo play into that? Yeah,
Okay, yes. So language then in our culture is full of branches. It's full of branches. Someone who's an expert hunter is gonna have language that is specific into that lifestyle they do, hunting. Someone who's an expert, fire maker, that is to say, people who work in a refinery because they use fire to refine the gold and other things, they're going to have language that is specific to that. People who are expert farmers, whether livestock or crops, they're going to have language that has more proclivity and depth in relation to that. So that's another thing. When culture corrodes, when culture dies, when traditions die, it's not just the tradition, it's the secrets that are carried within those traditions. I had access to an interview, some part of an interview that was done in the 70s with a woman called Maqoqa. Maqoqa is a descendant of the people known as Gana, who used to live along the banks of Inqo, a river of the Wildebeest in the Eastern Cape. Maqoqa was being asked about the drawings on the wall. She told them straight that those drawings, you can never be able to explain them unless you are initiated by the people who are experts in it. So even that art of drawing on the wall was something that you have to be initiated into. And by initiation, I mean there has to be some kind of procedure that is observed. where you are transitioned into this new person now. So all those things were covered in part of our culture called ukuhlonipa. Hlonipa means to avoid, roughly translated today to respect, but it means to avoid in essence from the word ukuhlona, which means shyness and avoidance. So ukuhlonipa is to avoid. So you avoid certain language in the midst of those who do not share the same level of knowledge in these things. So when I talk about some of these words were secret, basically. To an extent, some of them were secret. Like in isiZulu, they talk about a word to mean familiarity, injwayelo, or to be familiar with something, ukujwayela. But if you go into an older word, they will tell you about ukuxwayela or ukuxwayela. You understand? It means the exact same thing. Baphuthe ukutayela, amaXhosa ukuqhela. Exact same thing. Batswana, Bapedi, you will have words like utlwayela. Uskantlwayela when. It's tlwayela. So the click from the further deep into the language you go, the more the clicks you start to discover. The word, for example, to go, suka. When I was younger, we used to use the word suduka or shenga. There's another now word that you find in isiZulu, twecuka. Yava? Twecuka, which in isiXhosa is tonuka. It also means move yourself. You understand? Move yourself away. Now, a lot of people are not going to know these words because their understanding is based on the standardized version of speech, which is only found in schools. Once again, guys, this is going to be on YouTube. Sandile Tukani, that is the channel. YouTube, Sandile Tukani. Remember to go there so that you don't miss this. Most people are only familiar with the standardized language, which is standardized by our government working together with the apartheid government. So when I say twecuka or tonuka, you're not going to understand that I'm saying move along. I want to go. Because you are not initiated into the secrets of the language. The beautiful thing is that now I'm going to be exploring these things because I can't let this thing die. Doesn't matter if you are Zulu, Pedi, Sutu. There's even songs that obviously some of them I can't sing publicly. Songs that tell you exactly who's who and why we do certain things. There's a word for smoke, intutu, dust. I came across in isiZulu. But intunga. And Tinage as boys, we used a similar word, but it didn't have ntu, it had nku in the beginning. A very similar word to mean something that looks like dust. Yabo? Something that looks like dust. So language in essence, therefore, you want to go from one level into another level. From the normal language that we speak today, which would be, thank you, Tammy, which would be civilian language, into a deeper language. Now let me use the name Tammy for just to display how we can, when we understand language sufficiently, our approach to things is much deeper. The word Tammy comes from the word tamsa or norma tamsang. But actually Tammy is also correct because the root there is tam. Tam is the root there. Tam means soft. Anyone who speaks the language that I speak knows that when you say indo, itam-tam, this thing is very soft. Tam-tam, like marshmallows. Marshmallows, when you describe their texture, they are tam-tam or tam-tam. You understand? So it's soft. Now, tam can have a masculine noun form or a feminine noun form. When it's a masculine noun form, we use B at the end. It gives us tamba. When it's a feminine noun form, we use S at the end. It gives us tamsa. So tamsa means soft, which is the feminine version of tamba, which also means soft, ukutamba. Now, nga on the other hand, tamsa nga is to say, it's an emphasis to say a lot of it. Softness, smoothness, ukshelela, smoothness. So when you say itamsa nga, people translate it as luck, but it's not necessarily luck, it's more favor, as in like things are smooth, things are soft. It's soft life, Baba. So tamsanga is favor, fortune, softness in life. But even more so, there's another word, tam au. Tam au. It's used in aura. Now, that last word there, au. That last word there, au, in tam au. I can explain it as this blanket is called ingcawe. Hawe. This word I'm talking about is tam au. This blanket is always, originally it was a skin blanket. It was a skin blanket in which it's softened. It's made very, very soft, this blanket. Some people say it was sheepskin, which I doubt because sheepskin is usually used either by women or by boys. This is a blanket for men. So I doubt it had anything to do with sheepskin. But this blanket is called ingcawe. Some people say ingcawa. It's the same word you find in Qora when you say tam au. Tam is soft, au, softness as well, comfort. Au gub means a soft skin. Au gub, soft skin or soft blanket. Now, this word for soft, you also find it when we talk about spiders, in reference to the spider's web. In reference to the spider's web, as in the soft thing. But even better, when we talk about cow, we also find the similarities in isiZulu and isiXhosa. When we talk about something called inkundla, or the meeting place, the Zulu people say esigcawini. This is not to say in the spider place, Maxhosa. Esigcawini is the meeting place, the central meeting place. Isigcawu, central meeting place. This is exactly what the Xhosa people refer to when they say icawa. Icawa, as in the place of gathering, or ukucawa, together. So we started talking about tamsana. We went into tam au. Tam au. We went to au for softness, but also au for coming together, as in isigcawu and icawa. So do you understand now that noma uthetha isiXhosa, noma ukhuluma isiZulu, noma usumayela isiNdebele, at some point these languages are the exact same thing. A Xitsonga speaking person can come here and we can do the exact same thing. As in a Chivenda speaking person can come here, we can do the exact same thing. Someone just commented and asked, Esixukwini. Isixuku. I like it because amaXhosa say isixuku. What does it mean? It means the place of coming together. Isixuku is also a heap of things put next to each other or on top of each other. It comes from the word xo or xo, which means to come together, which you find in cawa or cawu. And the word ku is a reciprocal suffix. Sisimamva sokwenzelana. No. Sisimamva sokwenzana. Reciprocal suffix. So when we are coming together side by side, to come together. Ku, reciprocally. So to come together side by side, siyaxukana or siyaxukana senza isixuku or isixuku. That is why when people abadala, when they go to gather little things and separate them, bathi cukuca or cukuceza. So isixuku, cawa, isigcawu, lirhutla, inkundla, ibandla, libadla, all of them mean the exact same things. It's one and the same thing. Amzo. Jambas.
Jile madoda nginiqothile kahle
Uqadile.
ngiqadile mandibulise indawo yokuqala mani noko kuye kube mnandi noko xa sidibene sisenzisanqa emlilweni noko sidibene ngezinto ezakhayo.
Yes.
Indawo yokuqala kukho aba bantu ubuthetha ngabo, ndifuna uhamba ngayo ngezigaba le nto.
Yes.
Bendikhe ndababona abanye kwalapha kwii-comments. Urayithi wenje njalo wena ube lidinda ufake iswazi apha emntwini because asizukwazi into yoba ngoku siyi-sugarcoat number one inyani. Number
Yes.
2, ekubeni basiyi-sugarcoat, isizathu soba siyi-sugarcoat yinto yoba abanye abantu, number 1, ayizungena kakuhle loo nto leyo. Okwesibini, bangena into abangazaziyo ezingabafuniyo. So asizuba nalo usizi lwaloo nto. Faka iswazi ukuthi ndipromowutha kakhulu.
Hash.
Faka iswazi. Asizukwenza impazamo ezazenziwe ngabasebaphambili kunathi. Andithi mos each and every generation is supposed to uba ifake imbewu engcono okanye ivune ngcono. So esizibonileyo sizazilungisa, esingaziboniyo sawudliwa zagweba, impilo leyo mos.
Yeah.
So and then wangena kwinto, ungene entweni nakanene, wangena kwi-biological differences nee-adaptations ke ngoku. Yaqonda uba yabona kuleyo asoze bakwazi nanini na, because ayipasi yona. So ndiyabona uba funeka bakhangele indlela, ayizupasa leyo. Ayizulunga. Enye uphe wangena, babe nee-notes zam kanjani, ndisephithi. Kodwa kanene, khona le bukhe wangena kuyo. I think uye wahlomla kancinci ngento ye-role yamantombi nezonto. Izolo ikhona enye into bendiyifunda kwelinye ixhego apha, icacisa ngendlela uba uyasibona isilawu.
Yes.
Andithi mos imizi nemizi, iziduko neziduko, yabo, amakhaya ngamakhaya anezilawu zawo, uyabo. Okay, so wabecacisa ke ngoku la uba le andithi mos xa ungena kuronta sinezigaba 4 mos phaa. Uqala emnyango ngasekhohlo,
Yes.
uyotsho kwifestire sekhohlo, andithi iba ngutata. Usuka kulaa festire ekhohlo apho bayayeka khona ootata, ujikela uya esiphakathini, so sephaa emamva ngumfana. Usuka phaa uyotsho kule festire yintombi, usuka kwintombi uyotsho ke ngoku kwicala lasekunene emnyango, iba ngumama. So iyawucacisa lithemba uba xana uphehlela isilawu, funeka igwebu eli linyuke lizinze, uyabo, sentsho ngokomnombo. So wabonisa nento ke ngoku into yoba, and iyaxhomekeka nedirection eye kulo. Uba uthe uphehlelela lanyuke laa gwebu, lanyuka lawela kwicala elithile, umzekelo masithi umfanekiso ngqondweni, liwele kweli cala likule festire ingasekhohlo, uzawubonakalisa loo nto leyo uba no, sikhona isikhalazo okanye ikhona ingxaki kweli cala loomama okanye kwicala lentombi. Kuye kuthiwe ke xana isilawu noko singavumi, singathini, mhlawumbi siwele masithi entombini, kuye kufunwe umtshana omkhulu, which is intombi yokuqala from i-firstborn. So kuye kuthiwe ke ngoku once wahlomla umtshana omkhulu, noko ibhekile iye icaca umcimbi wayo uba iyenyuka okanye ihlile. So bendizama ubonisa ngaloo ndlela yoba each and every wonke umntu unerole ayidlalayo. Wonke umntu unegalelo, akho mntu ungaphezulu kunomnye. Into yoba nje there is just a hierarchy of to maintain i-order. Yiyo loo nto kuthiwa siyahlonipha, because ufuneka umhloniphe ongaphezulu. Andithi nomncinci amhloniphe ongaphezulu, nomdala amhloniphe ongasezantsi. So in essence isymbolizer enye yezonto mhlawumbi, uyabo. Yeah, maniphela apho, ezinye ndizilibele, iyawuba lixesha.
Kulungile Jambase, kulungile Hlathi, kulungiwe Mfene, mazabiwe zabelwa abafokazi. Kamagu, I thank you guys, all of you. So that is the message for today, my people, man. Masingaqhelwa amanqatha anqumileyo. Masingaqhelwa amanqatha anqumileyo yile migqakho inamanqagisa yezaphuselane zama-Igbo. They should not start with us. They should not get too comfortable. But anyway, we do understand there's an agenda, there's a propaganda to try and delegitimize our people's right to exist, but they're not gonna win. They're not gonna win. We've been at it. We've been at it. Lastly, I want to just share. I came across a language called Xegwi. A language called Xegwi. The people who speak the language call themselves Xhotle. But in isiZulu they are called Nqeshe, Amanqeshe. Uyabona? Now in Xegwi, it's very similar to isiZulu. Sometimes I wish for Zulu speaking and Swati speaking people to learn it. The reason why I say people must learn these languages so that they can be able to see for themselves, through the bull crap. That's the main goal. It's not like you're gonna go around speaking the language, but you're gonna see for yourself the nonsense that is peddled in these books. That no, there's no way, man. That even the same people Abati Asingabo, the people they say we are not, they literally speak the same thing we speak. They live the similar life as we do. Like in isiZulu, when you hlonipha the word ubaba, guess what you say? Ucaca. Abathembu have a similar word for a woman, I think grandmother. Ucece. I'm not sure if it's grandmother or great grandmother. Ucece. Baputi do the exact same thing. They have ucece and unkeke. You see? So I like it. Because ubaba, you also find it in Xegwi. Exactly as it is. Baba and bawa. Which takes you back to isiXhosa. Ubawo. Bawo ndiyabonga ngoba. Ubawo. In Xegwi, they have all these words in one language. So it tells a beautiful story. IsiZulu sithi ukufunda, isiXhosa sithi ukufunda, but isihlonipho sithi ukuyanda. To read, to learn something. To marry, same people but ukucaca. AmaXhosa also have the word ukucaca. In isiXhosa it's to run away with a woman. Ukucaca. I forgot the name now in English. To elope, ukucaca. But to marry also in isiZulu they have a word. A wedding, icece. Isihlonipho say ithece. Do you understand that? I've got about 1,000, close to 1,400 words in isiZulu alone that are not spoken mostly today. 1,400 words is not a child's play. You learn those words by just one word that you learn in those words that are no longer used. It connects you to Sandile. It connects you to Sesotho. It connects you to Xegwi. You start to realize that maybe 300 years ago, the isiZulu that was spoken sounded a bit different. Perhaps 300,000 years ago, the Sesotho that was spoken sounded a bit different. Obviously, these languages were not called that. isiXhosa was not called isiXhosa. Sesotho was not called Sesotho. It was just the speech of whatever group. So people who live next to the river, they would say the language of the people who live next to the river, or ulwimi lwabantu next to the river. So all I'm saying is that the field is plenty, the harvest is plenty. There's so much work to be done. And we will rely on your guys' support as well. That's something I don't usually talk about, but anyone who has a brain cell will know that there is definitely support needed. So I'm going to rely on your guys' support. I don't want you guys to worry too much about those things, but it takes quite a lot of resources to actually get to know these things. You have to travel at some point. You have to meet certain people. You have to have access to archives. And, Abelungu, they wrote these things and then they hid them away. There's a library that burnt down in UCT. It was full of our history library a few years ago. Our history locked down in some library in UCT. So, yeah, guys, support whichever way you can. Probably best way to support is to reach out to me. Let me know. We deal with something. Send gifts, whatever you can do. But this live is going to be on YouTube. Those who are on Facebook, just search Sandile Tugani on Facebook. I've got a page there I've got about 13,000 followers on that page. I'm on Facebook as well. Go there, share the stuff. And those who want to learn from me directly, send me an inbox. I'll add you to the list and then I'll give you all the information. I'm signing out now. See you guys tomorrow. Someone was asking how often these lives happen. As much as I can, I'll go live, but sometimes, maybe especially month end, it gets too busy for me. Like, I can't really do a live. Like, it's so busy. I come back at home maybe sometimes after 12 midnight, so I can't do any live. And then I leave the next day and then I come back. Yeah, so there's that. Sandile Tugani, ithole lenkunzi zasemamfeneni, ndingowakwaMayikana, ndingowakwaVimbisa, ndingowakwaGeqa amatshe, ndingowakwarhwala emgodleni, ndingowakwapheka iphemphemu neqhakuba ngenqawana. Nna ke motho wa motshwene, ke motho wa khiba wa kgamadi ya phofolo. Ndingucanzi usanzanza uhlathela ingothiwayo xa livutha ngalothiwa zimfene kuba imfene ziba nini behlathi. Ndingujambase mna, ndingumSuthu, ndingulisa, imfene mazabiwe uzaba zabelwe abafokazi. Ndingumwandla, ndinguluncu, ndingumbamkhosi, intlabamkhosi. Phuma ke kwelikaNgqika, kwelikaRharhabe, kwelikaButsolo bentonga, uNtsinga kaNomagwayi wasembo, uSibala Mdaka owambatha zimfutshane uthi zomlingana ngoba ezinde uthi zimpihla amadolo. Nguzamazama ke lowo ilizwe lizamazame. Usinge yasiyi mhla sisiya singe siyaya mhla singayi. uButsolo bentonga. Ndiyanqula ndiyacamagusha ke koTshawe okhokho bam, oTshiwo, oMdange, oTogu. Zigodlwana zemazendala zingalala endleleni yazini madoda kunyembelekile. Ndiyacamagusha ndiyanqula kumagiqwa kokhokho bam, ngoNkosana, omvaba ikitile mnqayile inqindi. Umtshotsho useusta, mtshato usephala. Ndiyanqula koDlamini, koZizi, okhokho bam, nkomo zikaJama, nkomo zikaSijadu, nkomo zikaNgqibinoboya, Fakade, Xosi kumagcina, koNcancashe, koHelushe, malamba bayendle, balambe bedlile. Izinto zidla iigusha zabelungu zithi ziziduli zethafa. Camagu Mampehle, Bocabashe, bonkomo zibomvu. Nina nto zakulo ibeka wakulokani. Nina nto zakulo lubisi, zakulo dikana. Xosi kunimantlane, Qanga, Nqabane. Ngqungqushe ziqelekazi, wena uhlamba ngobubende abanye behlamba ngamanzi. Ndizalwa ke ngomanzotho umanyelezi umaphango ungqala ungqange nqanqasi noxuxu qhamuwele. Liyobe phambili impunzi yasemva ngumtya nethunga intombi yasemanzothweni. Nguhoyini bafazi bentsikizi le ntsholo neyiphazama nithabatha isidoda kodwa ibizwa ngesifazi. Nguntaba kaHili usiqa somelezwa zintshaba. Ngukhawuta kaGcaleka. Xosi ndiyacamagusha. Thank you so much, my people. You must be careful also, man. These people are being paid, man. Some of these people are being paid by Rob Herzog. They are being paid by Rob Herzog. Some of them are being paid by some organization, AfriForum, Helen Suzman Foundation. All these spy foundations that are here, they are paying to cause havoc. So the key, Tina, is to know who we are. The key is to know who we are. Ndinguhlathi mna umakhalela zintombi zikhale zithi mfo khawundizeke. Xhosa.